So here we go then, the first of five tests between England and India at Trent Bridge. As we look ahead to test number one on ESPN Cricinfo Match Day, let's welcome Ian Bell and VVS Laxman, two formidable opponents a few years back. In fact, I'll go back to 2007, the last time India won in England. Both of you were part of that memorable series, more memorable for Laxman than it was for Ian Bell. But of course, he's been part of a number of England wins against India. Gentlemen, let's look ahead to this series. Laxman, first starting with you. What are India's chances now? Is this a really good chance to win a test series in England? That seemed to be the chat last time, but the series result didn't go India's way. What are your expectations this time?
Well, they definitely will start as favorites. It's not just because someone like Ben Stokes has just announced before the start of the first test that he's not been available for this test series, but I feel just the quality, experience, and class, and the all-round abilities in the squad, as far as India is concerned, will make them the favorites. So I think it's just about going out and playing to their potential, and I believe that if they play to their potential, they'll definitely emerge winners.
That's a fair call from Lakshman to start with Ian Bell. I don't know if you agree with that. We saw a little bit of New Zealand giving England a tough time earlier in the summer. But do India start favourites for you?
Yes, I think looking at both squads, I think Ben Stokes missing is massive. Not just the Ben Stokes the player, but Ben Stokes the character in the dressing room. When England are in trouble or they need something, he is the go-to man, whether it's with the ball or with the bat. So they'll miss that. There's no shadow. I think the concern for England will be the top order. I think India are going to come over with a fantastic group of seam bowlers. We know what the spin department can do, but the seam department is fantastic. And I think England are under a little bit of pressure. And I think that's personal pressure as well. There's a few players playing for their places. And I think India come here, one, full of confidence. They've won in Australia on their last overseas tour. So what a great opportunity they have to do something special and beat England at home. But look, England in English conditions with Jimmy Anderson broad will be a handful. If India can get through that new ball, I think India would definitely become favourites.
Now, since both of you have referred to Ben Stokes in your opening points, let me go to that point next up. Now, would your idea of who starts as favourites have been different, Ian, if Ben Stokes was playing? And what do England lose out more on from Stokes, who has been in and out of this England side, at least in the last year or so?
No, I think India rightfully should be favourites. I think the consistency they've played with home and away for a while now has been fantastic. England's record at home is very good. But I feel at the moment, from a batting point of view, we're very reliant on Joe Root, and that's been proven. If he scores a big 100 and people bat around him, then it's okay. If he misses out, then we're under a lot of pressure. I was very fortunate to play with people like Andrew Flintoff and those kind of guys, those characters that you need in your team. When things get tough, they're the sort of the guys, certainly with the ball, they sort of raise everything. They're leaders, but without being a captain. So they will miss Ben Stokes, the leader, and also his skill set. But also, I think India, from that side, when we talk of like a Rashid Pant, a dangerous player, Ben Stokes is our version of that. He can take the game away from India. I'm not sure we have anyone else potentially like him that can do that as well. Yes, there's Josh Butler, but without Ben, I think that leaves a bit of a gap.
He had a big impact in that last tour that India went to England in, Lakshman, but we did see a more moderate version of Ben Stokes in the India series recently. Would India be looking at, a big player's gone, or was it not much of a difference to them with Ben Stokes?
See, one of the quality of this Indian team is not over analyzing the opposition side, because this Indian team go out and try to achieve their goals and play to their potential, whether in the batting department or in the bowling department. They know that if you have to beat England in England, their batsmen have to collectively perform, and they should not be satisfied only by getting 50s, 60s, but they want to convert those start into a big 100 or big score. And same in the bowling department is to execute the plans, bowl in the areas which will fetch them wickets. And also fielding becomes a very important aspect if you have to beat England, because there are a lot of catches which are going to come in the slip cordon. So you have to hold on to those catches. So while they know the importance of Ben Stokes and how much he will be missed by the England squad, but whether Ben Stokes being there in the English squad or not will not really change the way they approach their game.
Perhaps one of the tougher selection calls to make to replace Ben Stokes, Ian. Craig Overton's been called to the squad. But can England look at someone like Sam Curran to fill that spot? Sam Curran usually competes with an outright seamer for his place in the 11. How do England manage without Stokes?
I think they have to go Sam Curran for me. I think Chris Wokes would have been one for me, but he's been ruled out for the first two test matches. Hopefully he will play some part in the series. It was only a year and a half ago he was England's player of the year or test match player of the year. So we need to get him fit. So for me, Sam Curran is the all rounder that we need to play. He also had that was, I suppose, his debut into Test match cricket, so he has a bit of confidence about playing India in England. And obviously with his IPL experience now as well, I think he becomes a very important part. Robinson as well, who obviously made his debut against New Zealand, obviously had a little bit of baggage off the field. He can bat as well, so he will strengthen the batting order as such, like you said, when you're missing an all-rounder. But his primary job will be to exploit English conditions. He's a good English seamer, but he can hold a bat. So I think with Curran at 7, Robinson at 8, it does give England a little bit more depth with the batting. So I expect that's sort of your cover, I suppose, for the all-rounder in Ben Stokes.
All right. Let's talk about two of India's biggest players now. I'd like to talk about Pujara and Kohli. Let's start with Pujara. Lakshman, 18 tests now without 100. There seems to be some sort of concern about Pujara's test match batting form. Is he under pressure, and what are you expecting from him on this tour?
Yeah, there's no doubt that Pujara will be under pressure, because someone as experienced as Pujara and the quality he possesses of performing all over the world, I think that stat which you just mentioned, Raunak, will not do justice to his potential. And he'll be more disappointed the way he's been getting out, more than just not getting the hundreds which you're talking about. But I just feel that at the start of the series, an experienced player will not be thinking about what has happened in the past. They will be knowing their role. And batting at number 3, that's a very important position if you have to win a series in England. So Pujara will understand the responsibility which is on his shoulders. He will know what is the way to perform and get runs in English conditions. He's got the experience of playing there before Test matches. He's played county cricket. He understands the conditions he's going to get. And August is a good month for batting in England. So I'm sure that will also play in Pujara's mind. And he just wants to go out and play to his talent and express himself, and that's the best way to get runs, and that's what Pujara will be focusing on.
Just sticking with you, VVS, we saw him bat a lot of time in Australia, which was effective, you think, in Australia. It doesn't seem to quite have the same effect here. Do you see Pujara batting any differently from what he was, say, 4 or 5 years back?
Right from the first day I saw Pujara playing international cricket, that's been his formula. That's been his recipe to score big runs. The only difference over the last 12 to 15 months is he's not converting those starts into big score, because usually he takes a lot of deliveries up front to get his eye in, and he occupies the crease, but eventually he converts the start into a big score, and that's why we don't really talk about the strike rate. We don't talk about the number of balls he's taking to score those runs. And that's something which Pujara will be mindful of, because that's his game plan.
Well, you take me through your observations of Cheteshwar Pujara. Didn't even have a big home season as we tend to associate with him. Is this a series that could potentially put him under a lot of pressure?
I think there's always pressure, isn't there? There's pressure playing for India. I mean, it's like I said, there's so much competition in the batting unit in particular, and same as the England Test players, that little bit of pressure. And the standard that these guys set themselves is so high. So from the internal pressure and the external, there'll be a little bit, but he's such a wonderful player. VVS has just said it as well. He's got experience in these conditions. He's an important part to that batting unit, isn't he? And I do think if I look at the England bowling attack now, if they can get through the new ball and make Anderson and Broad both second, third, fourth spells with the firepower they have in the middle and the stroke players they have, he's a really important player, and certainly getting through that new ball. And also VVS made a great point there as well, is August is a great time to bat in England. It should be good weather. The wickets will be dry. There's been so much cricket already with the 100 and competition, so the wickets will be dry. They'll definitely try and make them green, but again, the overhead conditions are the most important thing in England. So get through the new ball, and Pujara is such an important player for that. And like I said, I think England, out of all the quality India have, he will be one of the number one priorities to get out with the new ball.
All right. Now, Virat Kohli, abysmal tour in 2014, outstanding tour in 2018. What are we expecting from him in 2021? VVS?
Oh, well, I'm expecting a lot of success. You just touched about his disappointing series in 2014, and you saw what he did in 2018. And that's what I expect from Virat Kohli, because not only Virat Kohli, the batsman, will be excited to play against England in this 5-test match series, but Virat Kohli, the captain, also knows if Virat Kohli, the batsman, is in excellent form, India will always be in a formidable position to win this series. And that's what he'll be focusing on. But someone like Virat Kohli, who's got so much of international experience, knows that he should not be thinking about the outcome. If you focus on the process, if you do all the things in a right manner, and take those baby steps to get that milestone, eventually the three-figure mark will be on your doorstep. So he will be focusing on the process, not thinking too much about the outcome.
You say that it's an interesting point, Lakshman, that he's been associated to be someone who converts these stats once he's in, and of late, even though he's looked good for his 40s or his half centuries, he then suddenly gets out. Is that somewhat surprising to you, or how does Kohli address that aspect?
If you see Raunak, yeah, I understand that he's not been converting those half century into big hundreds. In fact, he was converting that in not only big hundreds but double hundreds also. But if you see the kind of pitches Indian team was playing on, if you see in Australia, he just played one Test match. Unfortunately,
Yes.
when he got a half century, he was run out in that fashion along with Ajinkya Rahane. In India against England, I mean, those were tough batting conditions for any batsman. And Virat Kohli, in those matches also, he got a couple of half century, but was not able to convert that into big score. I mean, the entire team's total was close to 150, 160. And again, he played the World Test Championship final. Again, he looked outstanding in the first innings. In fact, in both the innings, he looked very comfortable on the crease, but was not able to again convert that start into a big score. So I think the conditions also have been challenging. But I think what Virat Kohli will keep in mind is the way he got out in both the innings in the World Test Championship final. Because the way Jamieson set him up in the first innings, where he took the ball away from him and then got the ball in and got him LBW. And in the second innings, just the opposite of what he did in the first innings, where he got the ball to go away after bowling a consistent line and length where the ball was darting into Virat Kohli. So those kind of dismissals will definitely be something Virat Kohli will be mindful of, especially keeping in mind the clash, the competition he has, the battle he has against someone as great as Jimmy Anderson.
Now we know that Anderson's not getting any younger, but he still seems more than fit. Ian Bell. It was that contest that effectively would decide, how good Kohli was. Is that still the contest, or are there other threats for Virat Kohli now? We saw Kyle Jameson cause all sorts of problems. Is there a bowler in the England lineup that would cause similar problems of Kohli?
I still see that as the contest. I think everyone will see that. I think, like we said, Jimmy is the master bowler in English conditions, and even at 39, he's still getting fitter, stronger. So that will be the contest. There's no doubt. I mean, Stuart Broad will pose some problems, and when he hits a hot streak and a hot spell, he'll be a handful. And as VVS said there, with the ball actually nipping back towards the stump, one of the things Ollie Robinson, that's why I would play him, one of his strengths is running the ball back into the stumps, keeping everything in play, LBW bowled in play. So that will be a quite interesting one. But there's no doubt Anderson and Kohli will be the one that we're all looking forward to. And then maybe a bit of Rashid Pant versus Anderson later in the day with that reverse sweep we did in the last series. See if that comes out again.
If Anderson does have a brilliant first test, are England going to play him in the second this time, Ian, or do India a favour again?
Oh, I hope so. It's important. There was a lot of rotation, a lot of thinking too far ahead. I think this is such an important series. Stay in the moment. Look at what's ahead of you. If England win the first, go again with the same team and try and win the second. Don't look too far ahead. Let's hope so. In these conditions, I expect Broad and Anderson to play quite a lot. Broad's home ground, first up at Trent Bridge, so I expect them to play. And if England are going to win, these two are going to have a major part to say in that. Whether they play all 5 Test matches, I don't know, but they will have a major say.